Here I am, out here on the cutting edge of quantum uncertainty, grappling with the imponderables. May I have the envelope, please, so I can push it? All this data I'm collecting on human intelligence. How can it be that the human mind is more than the human mind can understand? If I come across one more paradox, I think I will just scream. I am now able to comprehend the incomprehensibility of it all. Now what? Of course, someday this may all fall into place, like it did for Crick and Watson. It said that one of them was walking down a spiral staircase when he thought of the model for the DNA code, which is shaped somewhat like a spiral staircase. I could have a similar Eureka experience. One day when I'm putting on my pantyhose, as I roll them down to the ankles the way I like them, no telling what law of physics I might unravel. I'll tell you one thing, when I do have my Eureka experience, I hope I'll have the presence of mind not to do what Archimedes did and run down the street naked screaming, Eureka, Eureka. I'll tell you another thing, evolution could use a Eureka experience. Hey, what if I'm it? Seems like evolution just kind of plateaued out, left humankind with a middle management problem. Just maybe going crazy could be the evolutionary process trying to hurry up mind expansion. My mind didn't snap, it was trying to stretch itself into a new shape. The cerebral cortex trying to grow a thumb of sorts. I'm glad I got delusions of grandeur. Makes me feel a lot better about myself. According to my data, a turning point in evolution came when we began to reflect on ourselves. Wasn't long after that we began to lie to ourselves. Then came abstract thought, quickly followed by our ability to jump to faulty conclusions. And our minds have been working that way more or less ever since. Hey! Hey! Watch the light! You mammalian-brained lunkhead. Lunkheads. Mammalian-brained lunkheads. They look at my shopping cart. Call me crazy, 'cause I saved this junk. What do you call the ones who buy it, huh? Honk, honk, honk. Manhattan's mantra. I'd hate to think what this town would look like if I wasn't picking up after everybody all the time. I don't want to over-romanticize it. But frankly, going crazy was the best thing ever happened to me. I don't say it's for everybody. Some people couldn't cope. But for me, it came at a time when nothing else seemed to be working. Uh-oh, runaway cart! Go ahead and stare, rubbernecks. I love an audience. I got the kind of madness Socrates talked about. A divine release of the soul from the yoke of custom and convention. I refuse to be intimidated by reality anymore. After all, what is reality anyway? Nothing but a collective hunch. Now, since I put reality on a back burner, my days are jam-packed and fun-filled. Hey, like some days, I go hang out on 57th Street. I love to do this old joke. I wait for some music-loving tourist. This gives me such a charge. I wait for him to go up and ask someone, how do I get to Carnegie Hall? And then I run up and I yell, practice. I never could have done stuff like that when I was in my right mind. When I think of the fun I missed, I try not to be bitter. Honk, honk, honk. Manhattan's mantra. I was not always a bag lady. I used to be a creative consultant. for big companies. Who do you think thought up the color scheme for Howard Johnson's? At the time, nobody was using orange and aqua in the same room together. Laugh tracks. I gave TV sitcoms the idea for canned laughter. I got the idea one day I heard voices and no one was there. Pantyhose in a plastic goose egg. My idea. One thing I personally don't like about pantyhose, when you roll them down to the ankles the way I like them, you can't walk too good. People seem amused. So what's a little loss of dignity? You gotta admit, it's a look. The only idea I'm proud of, my umbrella hat. Protects against sunstrokes, rain, and muggers. That should come as no shock. I am now creative consultant to these aliens from outer space. They're a kind of cosmic fact-finding committee. Amongst other projects, they've been searching all over for signs of intelligent life. It's a lot trickier than it sounds. Don't worry. Before I took the consulting job, I gave them my whole psychohistory. I told them what drove me crazy was my last creative consultant job with the Ritz Cracker mogul, Mr. Nabisco. It was my job to come up with snack inspirations to increase sales. I had this idea to give cracker consciousness to the entire planet. I said, Mr. Nabisco, sir, you could be the first to sell the concept of munching to the third world. We got an untapped market here. Why, these countries got millions and millions of people don't even know where their next meal is coming from. So the idea eating between meals is something just never occurred to them. Eating between meals is something just never occurred to them. I heard myself. I woke up in the nut house. One thing they don't tell you about shock treatments, for months afterwards you got flyaway hair. And it used to be my best feature. Now I have to wear this wig. I wear it wrong side out to keep it clean. Darn pantyhose. It's because of shock treatments I started having these time-space continuum shifts. Suddenly it was like my central nervous system had a patio edition out back. Like my brain's dial switching through humanity. My umbrella hat works like a satellite dish. I pick up signals that transmit snatches of people's lives. I hear the sizzling sound like white noise. And then I know it's trance time. That's how I met my space chums. I was in one of my trances. I suddenly sensed others were there watching with me. Like now. I see this scrawny punk kid on stage somewhere. Got hair the color of Fruit Loops. She's decked out in chains. Her t-shirt says, "Leave me alone."
I'm getting my act together and I'm throwing it in your face. I want to insult every member of the human race. I'm Agnes Angst. I don't kiss ass. I don't say thanks.
Well, thank you all a lot. I'm so glad that you came today. I was worried you might not show up. And without you, there'd be little point in me being here.
This will be a night of sharing for the sharing impaired. We are all soulmates in the vast cosmic dustbin of intergalactic space. And we are micro specks on Spaceship Earth. And tonight, a group of assorted specks arranged themselves into the shape of a speck audience and came here to watch a speck on stage who wants to be a star speck.
Whoa. See what I mean? These trances are entertaining but distracting. Especially since somebody else has the remote control. Causes lapses of the synapses. I forget things. Never underestimate the power of the human mind to forget. The other day, I forgot where I put my house keys. I looked everywhere. And then I remembered, I don't have a house. I forget more important things too, like the meaning of life. It'll come to me. Let's just hope when it does, I'll be in. Uh-oh, I must dash soon. My space chums say they are learning so much about us since they began to timeshare my trances. They said to me, Trudy, the human mind is so strange. I told them, that's nothing compared to the human genitals. They find it hard to grasp stuff comes easy to us. I show them this can of Campbell's tomato soup. This is soup. And then I show them a picture of Andy Warhol's painting of a can of Campbell's tomato soup. This is art. This is soup. And this is art. Art, soup, soup, art. Now, what is this? No, this is soup. And this is art. Once more.
Whew. I've been on 4 job interviews today, Eileen. No matter what kind of job you have, it's got to be easier work than looking for one. Shake it out. This may sound like a cop-out, Eileen, but some of my job probs are not my fault. I'm dyslexic, they tell me. I don't type, file, or spell well. It's hard to type when you can't spell. And it's hard to file when everything you've typed looks like alphabet soup. I do better at something creative. And I feel I am somewhat creative. But somehow, I lack the talent to go with it. And being creative without talent is a bit like being a perfectionist and yet not being able to do anything right. All my life, I've wanted to be somebody. But I see now I should have been more specific. Not that I lack ambition. I have ambition. I want to be more than I am now. But if I were really ambitious, I think maybe I'd already be more than I am now. A sobering thought, Eileen. What if right at this very moment, I am living up to my full potential? This seminar I'm in, Eileen, has opened me up like some kind of bronchial spray. I got clear that my expectations about life are simply way too high because of false hopes. My seminar leader said to me, Chrissy, you are a classic false hope case. Chrissy, you're gonna be okay. Not only do I not have a very firm grasp on reality, but I have sort of a loose grip on my fantasies too. Oh, cold. At the Phobia Institute. I'm working on overcoming my fears, Eileen. Oh, but it's not easy. You name it, I have feared it. Well, like I fear being out of work, and yet, whenever I'm working, I have this constant fear of being fired. I guess the worst fear I have is that this feeling I once had may come back. Once I guess I have needed to get this out, Eileen, for so long. Once I felt so down and so low, I came this close to committing suicide. I would have done it too, just one thing stopped me. Fear. Eileen, I was just plain too afraid. So if I ever did commit suicide, I'd have to be so desperate, I wouldn't even let fear of suicide stand in my way. Then probably